broken line graph is a diagram that has a horizontal axis divided into units of time and a vertical axis that displays the values of the qualitative characteristics studied, and in which the data recorded are represented by points that are then connected to one another by segments to form a broken line that illustrates the evolution of the phenomenon under consideration.
The broken line graph or line chart traces its origins to the 17th century with René Descartes' Cartesian coordinate system. It gained prominence in the 18th century and became widely used in 19th century for the representing complex data. In the modern era, especially with digital technology, it has become a vital tool in the various fields for visualizing trends and patterns. The broken line graph, featuring disconnected line segments, is used to emphasize discrete data points and trends. Its history is marked by centuries of evolution and adaptation for effective data representation.
A broken line graph is a type of line graph that connects data points with line segments. The line doesn't have consistent slopes and can have positive and negative slopes.
X-axis. This is the horizontal axis on the graph representing the independent variable of categories being measured. Y-axis. This is the vertical axis on the graph representing the dependent variable or values corresponding to the categories on the x-axis. Data points. They are the specific values plotted on the graph. Each data point represents a specific value of the dependent variable corresponding to a particular value on the x-axis. Line segments. In a broken line graph, the data points are connected by line segments. Interpolation. This refers to estimating values between known data points on the graph. Extrapolation involves predicting values outside the range of the available data based on the trend observed in the known data points.
So for broken line step procedure, for step 1, gather your data. So for gathering your data, you need to collect your data to present in your broken line graph. Ensure that you have a clear dataset with an x and y values. Step 3, plot the data points. On a piece of a graph paper or using graphing tools, plot your data points as interval or individual dots according to the x and y values in your dataset. For step 4, draw the broken lines. So now connect the data points on the lines that step up and down at each data point. Step 5, label your axis and title. Add label on your x and y axis and prove of the title your graph to make it clear what the graph represents. Step 6, finalize your graph. So while finalizing your graph, review your broken line graph to ensure it accurately represents your data and that is the net and ease to understand and make any necessary adjustment or additionally.
Let's create a broken line graph example with a solution. Suppose you want to visualize the sales of your small business over the several months. Here's the table of the monthly sales data. To create a broken line graph representing this data, you can use a horizontal step chart with the months on the x-axis and the sales on the y-axis. Here's the simplified representation.
In this broken line graph, the x-axis represents the months from January to May. The y-axis represents the sales in dollars. Each step in the graph corresponds to the sales data for each month. The lines step up or down the beginning of each month, emphasizing the discrete nature of the data.
You can see how sales have fluctuated over the month, and this broken line graph effectively illustrates those fluctuations.
In conclusion, broken line graphs are a valuable means of representing non-continuous data points. Highlighting gaps or deviation in a dataset, they provide visual communication of changes over time and allow for the identification of specific points of interest. However, it is important to interpret broken line graphs cautiously, considering the missing or incomplete data between the breaks and taking into account that context and factors that may have influenced the pattern. By doing so, more accurate conclusions can be drawn from the broken line graphs.